Everybody's talking about this rap beef that has gone legal, and it's gone legal without anybody having gotten shot, anybody being unalived. And granted, we don't want to see that. We don't want to relive the Tupac Biggie situation that really became some legal shit because of what happened to them. No, we don't want that. But what we also don't want is to have a legal case because somebody can't accept that they lost. Drake is out here showing his entire ass. So, in the lawsuit of Aubrey Drake Graham plaintiff versus UMG Recordings, they might as well have put Kendrick Lamar in parentheses beside UMG Recordings because you could try to tell us this is not about Kendrick, but it is. All right. If Drake had won, we would not have this lawsuit. We all know that. So I'm going to get into my top 5 observations. And before those top 5, I do want to point out that Drake is demanding a jury trial. So he doesn't want this spectacle to end anytime soon, apparently. So if this isn't settled out of court, I guess we're going to have us a jury trial. So let's get into these first 5 observations. I found it interesting in this lawsuit that Drake accuses Kendrick of violating the code of conduct in the workplace. Now, who has ever heard a rapper go to HR in essence and say, hey, this dude out here talking all kind of shit about me, saying things that go against what's in our code of conduct in the workplace, and I need y'all to do something about that. So, yes, in the lawsuit, Drake and his attorneys mentioned the code of conduct at UMG is that UMG is committed to a nonviolent workplace and that harassment can take different forms, such as speech that is threatening or abusive. So Drake and his attorneys are trying to use a code of conduct clause to support why UMG should have not allowed Not Like Us to exist. Oh, Drake, you are really down bad. If I were in HR and if you had come to me, if I was a part of the team representing UMG, I would have loved to have been able to say back to you, let me know when Kendrick threatens or abuses you with speech, like at the company Christmas party or the company picnic or the company anything that doesn't involve something that's on wax during a rap beef. Cause Drake has to understand the rules of engagement. He's been in beef. So again, this is about him being a loser here and not being able to accept that he lost and trying to pull out anything he can to make a case. But Kendrick violating the code of conduct, UMG not doing their part by holding him accountable to the code of conduct. And by the way, Drake, would you not have violated the same code of conduct by the things you said to Kendrick? Man, get out of here. Another thing that I found interesting in this defamation lawsuit is that we all know that anything related to Diddy is a hot topic. And Drake mentions Diddy in his lawsuit at least 6 times, connecting him to Lucian Grange. He wants to point out to Lucian Grange that, you know, when you were in that little sticky situation, when you were in the paperwork associated with Diddy and the attorneys for UMG got UMG and you dropped from those filings because you said you were being falsely accused and it would have destroyed your reputation and all the things. Drake is saying, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying Kendrick is doing to me. And how dare you not respond in kind? Respond to my trauma the same way you responded to yours. How dare I even have to get to a point to file a lawsuit, file a petition. So yeah, I'm going to name you 6 times in this document with Diddy, partly to kind of embarrass you and also to not let the world know that, hey, you've been attached to some freaky shit. I want people to remember that. So yeah, so it was just very interesting that Diddy is in another set of legal documents and he is referenced 6 times in connection with Lucian Grange. But let me tell you now, I think another reason why Drake goes there with Lucian Grange is because he is mad as hell. I think they had an understanding on paper and off paper. Listen, Drake right now is looking exactly how Kendrick painted him in Euphoria and how it opened with Richard Pryor, The Wiz, and The Wiz, right? UMG is like Emerald City. Drake is The Wiz. The Wiz could not exist without the propaganda and all of the things associated with Emerald City that kind of kept them staged in such a way, behind the curtain. Nobody really knew the deal. Nobody was able to see any weaknesses or whatever. They had an understanding. Drake goes into this beef with Kendrick and doesn't have a chance in hell, but he goes, okay? He goes into this beef with Kendrick and he starts becoming more and more exposed, especially for the people who thought Drake was untouchable. Emerald City is no longer protecting him. The smoke and mirrors, all of that, whatever the things are in this particular battle were not applied. So I think Drake is also upset as much as he's putting in this document, which I'll talk about next. As much as he's putting in this document that UMG was working for Kendrick, I think he's very upset that UMG did not put their thumb on the scale for him so that he would not be in this position. And I think that understanding they had, however they did business over the past 15 years to help him stay at the top of everything, I think he cannot imagine a world where Kendrick would be able to dismantle him the way he did and not have that same assistance. Oh, oh, Drake, if only you could learn. If only you could learn from what you're going through right now. So, another thing that is very interesting in the lawsuit is that when we talk about Kendrick winning or the popularity of Not Like Us, Drake and his attorneys, they have a sentence within the lawsuit that starts with respect to Lamar. Is the start of the sentence. And after that, they then go on and on and on about how UMG defeated Drake by basically doing everything under the sun to make Kendrick's Not Like Us more popular than what it would have been. And it had absolutely nothing to do with Lamar's skill set, Kendrick's ability, Kendrick's anything. It had everything to do with the machine UMG propping Kendrick up to defeat Drake. Now, to go back to the last topic we just covered, and I think Drake really does believe that because Drake does understand to what degree he has been propped up. So I think it's hard for him to imagine that Kendrick Lamar could have beat him the way that he did without the same assistance. Well, I'm going to say, as a fan, and as many of the people who were on social media when this beef was going on, we were fully engaged. And people along the way, it wasn't all like everybody was on the side of Kendrick and everybody was on the side of Drake. Some of it, you had your diehard Drake stands that had a position, your diehard Kendrick stands that may have had a position, but there was a lot of people who was just taking it record by record to see, maybe even people who were fans of both, who were just listening record by record to see who was going to win this battle. And Kendrick just simply was better. So they have this segment. This is throughout, really not even a segment, it's throughout the lawsuit where they spend a tremendous amount of time saying Kendrick wouldn't have gotten the Super Bowl if it was not for UMG. Kendrick would not have been nominated for a Grammy if it was not for UMG. They put in the lawsuit that UMG was financing and making arrangements using their connections to get Kendrick Lamar these things because he would not have gotten these things on his own. They just downplay Kendrick's skill, downplay his ability. The concept that Kendrick could have beat Drake bar for bar within this lawsuit is not even an idea. It is not even an idea. It is rooted in UMG went on a massive campaign to destroy Drake. I mean, campaign itself is referenced in the document 15 times. Anyway, for the lawsuit to not be about Kendrick Lamar, which it is, but for the lawsuit to supposedly not be about Kendrick Lamar's name is in this lawsuit 63 times. Within the footnotes, Kendrick Lamar's name is referenced 205 times. His lyrics are all throughout the document. You know, from even the lawyers trying to interpret shit, which I feel like they shouldn't try to interpret because I'm like, what are y'all talking about? You know, what are you talking about? That didn't mean that. You know, they put in the document that UMG went out of their way to make sure that everyone heard, say Drake, I hear you like I'm young. So there's so much within this lawsuit that is disrespectful really to Kendrick because there is no consideration. Like I said, it's nowhere in here that it's unthinkable that Kendrick Lamar would be able to do this kind of dismantling of Drake. Not the Drake, not the Wiz. It had to be UMG. So that's all throughout this lawsuit. And it's so funny that they started with respect to Lamar. Okay. So what Drake should be doing is working on a statement that starts with respect to Kendrick Lamar. I'm sorry, you whooped my ass. I had a hard time processing that. I did some fuck shit along the way. My bad. See you on wax. That's what he should be doing. Instead of this 81-page lawsuit where you're trying to act like Kendrick is inconsequential to the beatdown you just took. Ninja, please. Now, the next thing I want to highlight in this lawsuit really, really, really pissed me off. In this lawsuit, Drake and his attorneys indicate that when Kendrick Lamar says, you're not a colleague, you're a fucking colonizer, that it is alluding to Drake's Jewish heritage. So you're accusing Kendrick Lamar of being anti-Semitic. That, to me, below the belt, okay? Because first, that line is not attacking anybody's Jewish heritage, including Drake's. That line being applied to how Drake behaved when he went to Atlanta and exploited everything there from the Atlanta artists, the clubs, the connections, and so on, trying to gain not only social and cultural capital that he doesn't have, but also economic and financial gains he was obtaining from doing that. exploiting that culture. And when Kendrick made it a point to compare it to what settlers did in Atlanta with railroads, taking a historical journey when talking about it, it was very clear when he was talking about colonizer what he was talking about. And it was not some dog whistle to kind of be something negative against Jewish people. So this to me made me upset because I see this as a legal tactic that was definitely intentional. And I believe it was intentional because Drake and his lawyers are trying to do whatever they can to try to rally some energy to Drake's side of all of this. And how better to do it than to claim that somebody is being anti Semitic. So I think that is what they were attempting to do here, even knowing that that is not what Kendrick Lamar was doing with that line. So that is inflammatory. And if Kendrick was cut from the same cloth that Drake was cut from, he would be suing because of that. The audacity to do that. The audacity to do that. So that part really stood out to me. It also stood out to me that Drake and his attorneys reference his Jewish heritage 5 times throughout this legal document. They also go out of their way to include a few comments from random people on social media who said something to Drake that was either racist or something related to his religion. And they put that in there, I guess, as supporting evidence for the scenario they're trying to create, that somehow all of that was triggered by Kendrick using the word colonizer. That's just straight bullshit. It's just bullshit. And for Drake and his lawyers to put that in this lawsuit is just, it's just blasphemy to me that they did that. I know that Drake has had experiences as a black man, as a man of Jewish heritage, where he can relate to the dumb racist people out here. He talked about even experiencing it in his childhood.
I just always felt like an outsider. I went when I was in Forest Hill. You know, it was an all Jewish school, like, and just being biracial but still being Jewish. So I was like kind of connected to the kids, but like sort of distant. And when when kids are young, they don't necessarily comprehend everything.
Right.
So it can get a little cruel and a little mean.
Do you get teased a lot?
Yeah. I mean, I got it. I got it.
I believe that claiming that Kendrick was attacking Drake's Jewish heritage by using the word colonizer was nothing but a disgusting legal tactic to rally support from the Jewish community in order to get some type of support on Drake's side, because he clearly doesn't have much support. And I think it's just disgusting. The fact that they would misinterpret something, and I don't even know if it's a misinterpretation because I think it's intentional. So it's not a misinterpretation. That they would set forth in this legal document something that is absolutely not true and accuse someone of anti-Semitism, which is so serious. It's disgusting. It's disgusting that they did this to Kendrick and that they even did this to people of Jewish heritage. You don't play with that, just like you don't play with discrimination in our community. It's just disgusting. Okay, so let's wrap up the final observation on a lighter note. This final observation for part one of going through the federal defamation lawsuit is definitely on the lighter side compared to what we just discussed. So, in this lawsuit, Drake and his attorneys tell us how all of this that Drake has been subjected to, ooh, all of this has impacted his popularity. They took a poll. They took a poll. They compared what his popularity was in August 2023 to May 2024 after Not Like Us had dropped. And according to this poll, Drake's favorability went down 11% within those 9 months, and his unfavorability rating went up 13%. So they're suggesting that from August 2023 and after the drop of Not Like Us, his popularity just went in the toilet. Oh, but there's more. There's more that they put in the lawsuit. And this is where I really got my good laugh. They put in this lawsuit that as of May 2024, Drake's popularity, he was less popular in the United States than Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Oh my goodness, that was funny to me that they would even, first of all, put that in this lawsuit. But I'm just envisioning that when Drake got this data, like how he must have reacted to this data. That was funny to me to find out you, Drake, the Wiz, okay, the Wiz, that you are less popular in the United States than Donald Trump or Joe Biden. Wow. Wow. Before I sign off, I'm going to talk directly to Drake. Drake, consider me the black auntie that you never met. Okay? Let me tell you something. I looked through this whole document. I read it all 81 pages. And in this document, but from you and your attorneys, there's some things that I assessed. In this document, you mentioned violence 33 times, threats 25 times, suffering 13 times, safety 12 times, abusive 5 times, emotional 5 times. This is the frequency in which you're using these words. Stress 4 times, fear 4 times, anxiety 3 times, humiliation 2 times, mental 2 times, anguish 2 times. Drake, you need to get some help. You need to get some help. I know you may not have liked how Kendrick delivered some of that stuff to you in Meet the Grams, but that last part, that last segment that is about you, you really need to try to, pay attention to that, and you need to get some help. If you're not careful, you are going to lose more than a rap battle if you don't get some help to deal with your challenges. And by all of those words I just read off and the frequency to which you and your team reference those in this lawsuit, if I am to believe that you're feeling all of these things, I'm going to advise you to no longer participate in rap battles. Just accept that it's no longer your ministry. Just accept it. You can do, all the things that Drake the Wiz does. Sensitive, make people want to dance, have a good time music. You're Drake, right? Get some healing, bro. Get some healing. Thank y'all so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. I am going to do a part 2 where I'm going to talk a bit about the reactors that were called out in this lawsuit by Drake and the possible consequences to just the reaction community overall, depending on how this case might go. I definitely would like to get a little bit into some of the contract stuff that's referenced within the lawsuit, and not just Drake's contract. He does a good bit of talking about what he believes he understands about Kendrick's contract. So, would love to touch on that, and definitely want to touch on the public, their perception of the public. Um, so all of that will be covered in part 2, and probably maybe a couple of other things because I have a lot of notes after reading the whole thing. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please give me a thumbs up, drop a comment, and I take all kinds of feedback. I'm still new at this, so all feedback is welcome. Y'all have a good one until the next time. Bye.